You need an intro like that for two folks like this. It's Davis Sanchez, Adam Chernoff, covers at the halftime. Great to be here. First time we've done this. And I got to say, I'm thrilled to be doing this with you because there's a lot of athletes, there's a lot of professionals that played football that are getting into the betting space, but there's few like you that actually live and breathe betting every day and have the pro experience to back it up. So I'm thrilled to talk with you, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Looking forward to doing this. What do you think? First half here, Broncos just getting rid of the football. Browns have a chance to potentially put up a few more points, 10-0. Yeah. What's your thoughts so far in the first half here, Davis?
Well, my thought is great to be here with you, my man. Appreciate it. This is fun. I think that was a long version of you saying that I'm an absolute degen, which thank you for saying that because you're completely right. Thank you.
I was setting it up to keep it a little more, but okay, we'll go with it.
Well, that field goal. I mean, look, we've been talking offline. That blocked field goal makes a big difference here. It seems like we'll see what happens with momentum, but there was a lot of things to like about what Cleveland did in the first half. Obviously, we'll wait and see what that line looks like here in a few minutes. But it's going to be interesting. One thing, Adam, that I made a note earlier about is because Baker is not coming back for a bit. I think a backdoor is it would be a further. I don't think a backdoor is as much as normal because if they want to give him some reps and run some of the stuff that they haven't got him a chance to run, I think they do that in the second half. Where in a normal situation, normal circumstance, they might not. So yeah, a backdoor is not as likely. That's what we're trying to get out. Not as likely. Because I think they might want to get some stuff for case that they might need to use, moving forward if it's in fact Baker's not back right away. I think that's a key when we look at the backdoor stuff.
Makes a ton of sense. And you think, so it's the reunion with Case Keenum and Kevin Stefanski, who just 4 seasons ago, obviously a big playoff run for the Minnesota Vikings. But not only that, you now have Kareem Hunt, who's injured. He's going to be away for a while. Nick Chubb, obviously not on the field. So you have new guys in the backfield. You have guys like Schwartz out wide who are getting more snaps because Peoples-Jones injured in the pregame. You have offensive linemen back for the first time in a couple of weeks for the Browns. And there's a lot of names here that, like you said, they're going to have to really get together because some of these injuries for Cleveland are stacking up, and it's not necessarily getting better anytime soon. And we've seen them absolutely dominate so far. 216 yards for the Browns to just 69 at the moment for the Broncos, 6.2 yards per play to 4.6. We were texting earlier, big thing coming into the game, the Broncos without 2 starting inside linebackers, and then they lose Micah Kaiser, who's key in the middle of that defense. Stefanski with the misdirection, with the pre-snap motion, staples of his offense. But what have you seen about how Keenum has settled in here and how they've been able to take advantage of this busted up Denver's defense?
You hammered it. The first message you sent in game was the misdirection and how good Case looked, but the misdirection, how that was going to give Denver a problem. And you're right, because you think about misdirection happens between the numbers. Most of it. It's usually, if it's not tight ends and running backs in motion, it's receivers coming from the slot. Well, who handles the tight ends and running backs when they're doing cross motion, and even receivers when they're coming across? It's middle linebackers that's whose face they're crossing. So any of that passing stuff coming off, and obviously your run reads, all that stuff is coming, and affecting the middle linebackers. Now you're talking about 2 guys being out entering the game, and then a third, like you said, came early. That's a big deal. I said this to you on our message. I said, okay, so we see those 2 guys out. Now you can also, I think you could almost add, and I'm going to add something else to this after in just a moment, but you can add 1 busted play between those linebackers in some sort of, whatever it is, cross motion, something on a crucial third down. There's no chance that two backers being out, they don't bust a play. Now, in a half where there's going to be 4 or 5 possessions maybe, if you're telling me there's 1 crucial third down, those guys are going to bust something at a minimum, I think that's a big deal.
Huge deal. And, if you're thinking about a coach that can make sort of everything work here from that misdirection perspective, getting things going one way or the other? It's obviously Kevin Stefanski. And like you said, now 6 different receivers so far involved in the pass game, which for a guy like Keenum coming in his first start with most of these guys on the field, that's absolutely fantastic and speaks to how great of a coach is. Just got an update. Von Miller now banged up. So that's going to be, I mean, it just adds to the list for Denver and some of those issues. What are you seeing from the Denver defensive backs in the secondary? Vic Fangio known for his defensive coaching, but it's been a struggle for them the last couple of games. And so far this game, they've just had no answers.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's too high because Fangio wants to play. He wants to show too high. I believe they showed too high more pre-snap than any defense in the NFL. But he's not going to stay in it. So he doesn't have the patience to stay in too high, especially because we noticed early they can't get any pass rush. So he wants to play too high. He wants to be creative. He wants to play a bunch of coverage, but he sits in too high, and then you see it. I would say I saw 75% of the snaps. He started in too high. He came down and played man free, or came down and played man robber and had some sort of 5-man pressure, because they can't get pressure right now on Cleveland's offensive line. So to me, that's bad. That's his shoulder probably, and Odell. I don't know if you're ahead of me on the stream, but yeah, it's to me that's a problem. The pressure that Denver can't get. Now you're saying that Miller is out. That's taking them out of what they want to do coverage wise, and you're going to see a lot of man free. And as comfortable as Case looked, I think he'll have some success in the second half. What line do you have right now, Adam?
A brutal situation for him. The line right now, Cleveland -7.5, in-game total 31.5, just under 40 seconds to go. So we're waiting to see this go to halftime before we get a true number. Obviously, the in-play numbers are up there right now. We're looking at them, and we can touch on those in a second. But before we get to sort of the official halftime opener here, what were you making of the Denver offense, which to me just continues to get more and more vanilla? I'm shocked they're not getting Javonte more involved. To me, Melvin Gordon, send him to the glue factory. He's got to go. Like, I get it, fantasy, we're happy he's there, it's great, but the burst is not there like it used to be. He's not as versatile, and it's first down run for a gain of 2, it's second down run for a gain of 2, and you're stuck third and long, and it's 4 or 5 yard crosser drawn up for Teddy, who, in my opinion, he's not 100%. Foot injury, quad injury coming into the game. It's just not there. Is there anything you saw that was noteworthy from the Broncos in the first half?
Yeah, the one big play was a contested catch. I mean, I believe it was on Newsome, who had
one-handed to Sutton. Yep.
Right, and it was Cortland Sutton who he can make those catches, and that's if you have to depend on that in the second half. That's what you're getting, and he can make those. But on that play, Newsome was in good position, and Johnson was coming over the top and almost got there also. So, I mean, it's not – if your recipe is hoping that Cortland Sutton is going to go up and moss people, I mean, he could do it better than most receivers in the league, but I don't think that's what you want your offense to be. Do you see anything else offensively from Denver in the first half that makes you think that I saw no production other than that big play, really.
No, and it seems like there's no creativity. And the big thing with Bridgewater is always he's able to take care of the football. He's able to make smart decisions. First 3 weeks of the season, 0 turnovers. The Broncos look pretty good. Last 3 games, 6 turnovers, including one tonight where he tried to push things down in the wind and wasn't even close on that contested throw. So that was an easy INT going the other way that potentially took points off the board. But to me, it's ugly for Denver at the moment offensively.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier that Vic Fangio wants to play too high, but then he ends up getting out of it and going man robber. The difference, and they have a really good secondary. People don't realize that when you look at Newsome and Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward, those are some of the best cover guys, man-to-man cover guys. Those guys are solid, good young athletes that can cover. So when you're getting pressure. Cleveland's defensive line gets pressure. Adam, right? They can get pressure,
always,
and they can play coverage. And on the other end, they can play coverage, but they can't get pressure.
And if you're doing one without the other, it's never necessarily a recipe for success. So we see a handoff here after another near interception by Teddy Bridgewater. Looks like that's going to take us into the half. So we're going to get a number here pretty soon that everyone listening can act on. I think we're both leaning the same way here. But pregame, there was obviously a lot of money that came in on the Denver Broncos on the heels of the injuries to the Cleveland Browns stacking up. This opened right around 6. Got bet all the way down to a 2 at close, 1.5 in some places. And the total was smashed under because of the wind. And something that bettors love to look at is yards per play and total output. And we're north of 300 yards here with 10 points scored on the board, some drives ending late and leaving some points potentially out there. But rather than focusing on the total, I get the feeling that we might be a little bit more intrigued here from a side perspective.
Well, it looks like it's gonna be +1 is probably it's gonna be Cleveland +1. I'm guessing, or +0.5 with a second half line. That's what it's gonna look like. Is it? Oh, is that 2.5?
Right now, 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like Cleveland in this spot. There's no doubt about it. And add this to it too. Here's the biggest reason I wrote this in bold print. We look at Teddy right now, and we look at the way he's moving around. Do you think that there's not going to be at least one strip sack or fumble? He's gonna put the ball on the ground with those guys coming after him and him lacking mobility and them having to play from behind. So I say this: can you backdoor it? If you get a strip sack from Cleveland, does Denver have enough in a backdoor at the end of the game? That's my only concern. Winning the game. Denver come back and win the game, I'm not concerned with. But the back door, I don't even worry, because I think Teddy puts the ball on the ground at least once.
I'm right there with you, and I think as the game state improves here for the Browns, if they get another score, that's going to open up their ability to get pressure. I know you were looking away because that number is up there, and we're not just talking here; we're actually betting, and I've got it up on the other screen here. So I'm right there with you, looking at that number, and there tends to be a little bit of hesitance with bettors who are trying to. The comeback is always so much more popular, but here, that subjective angle you brought up at the start, with so many new guys out there for the Browns, I really think that matters here, with them needing to get reps and play together, knowing that now Mayfield, with the clavicle injury, that's not easy to come back from for a QB. So there's going to be time missed for certain there for him that's going to keep Keenum in here for a couple of starts. So I really like that angle, as we're still seeing that number at 2.5, waiting for some faraway places to open up some numbers, which I think will ultimately shape the market here just a little bit. But I'm right there with you, Browns 2.5 for sure.
Yeah, I'm seeing stuff. I'm seeing 1s and 1.5. I'm not seeing any 3s, which is not all that surprising. But you mentioned Stefanski, right? And them being together. Just to further that point, Adam, there's going to be stuff in their playbook that they say, okay, let's remember this. Let's get this. Let's get this going. Let's get some of this. Like, it's not like another quarterback that they would have that's a rookie or a young guy that would be in the same situation, who needs to get reps because the starter's out, but they don't want to put him in harm's way. They still want to get him reps, still want to get him some looks and stuff they might use next week and the week after, but he's comfortable with the stuff, so they'll run it. More reason that I'm not going to say they're going to go no huddle and air it out all the second half, but less chance that they're just going to, pound the air out of the football in the second half.
It's almost like refinding what they had during that run to the playoffs, where it's just getting back in sync and getting back up to it. So
cautiously, I'm sure, but yes, I'm 100%.
I'm right there with you. So Cleveland Browns +2.5 is going to be the pick here that we're making for the inaugural episode of Covers at Halftime with Sanchez and Chernoff. Browns +2.5. Hopefully that will take everybody listening to the proverbial ticket window. For David Sanchez, I'm Adam Chernoff. Thank you very much for tuning in to Covers at the Half. We'll be back with you Monday Night Football.